Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are going to be doing an Excel workbook that has to do with fundraising. Now, I did this for Chandler Unified School District. You can do it for whatever you want. However, you have to keep 6 different categories or 6 different locations or types of fundraising. Like I chose Payne, Bogle, Willis, Anderson, Castile, and Santan. And then you have to have 5 different methods of getting money. So I have like corporate donations, direct mail-ins, fund runs, government funding, and phone-a-thons. And we're going to go through this, and we are going to make this. Now I give you a Word document that has all these numbers. You're going to have to manually type them in. The only thing that I ask is that you keep it a fundraising summary and that your numbers stay the same. You can change any of the other stuff, but the numbers need to stay the same. Now what we're going to do is after you get everything titled in, we're going to make 2 total columns. So total right here, total right here. There's 2 total columns, one in H, one in column H, one on line 9. And then rather than type it all up to figure out what the total is, all you need to do is come over here to auto sum, click on sum, and then inside the formula box it says equals sum B4 to B8. Just make sure that your numbers, just the numbers, not the words, are included in that box. If they are, just hit enter and it returns a sum for you. Now, you can do it the same way. You can do auto sum here, same way you did last time. Or what you can do, I'll delete this, is you can grab this box, grab it by this little arrow button, make sure your box becomes a solid black line, your little arrow. Right down at the bottom right hand of the box it's highlighted, there's a little square. If you click on it and you drag it over, it'll extend that same formula across all of the above cells. So see here it says sum G4 to G8. See this one right here says F4, F8. Perfect. We're going to do the same with this total row now. We're going to click on H4, cell H4, auto sum, make sure that the auto sum goes all the way across here, just the numbers, which it does, hit enter, click on the formula, drag it all the way down to here. Now you have a bunch of total rows that are determined by formulas. These, if you look up here, are text. These aren't text, these are formula. You see the number here, but what's actually in that cell is a formula. Okay, awesome. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to kind of format our table to make it look nicer. So we're up where it says Chandler Unified School District, highlight that, and then highlight all these blank cells over to the end of your table right here. And we're going to click this button right here. It says merge and center. And what it does is it makes all those cells, it merges them, and any text that's in it, it centers it. Let's do the same thing to this one right here. Merge and center. Nice. Perfect. All right. Now that we've done that, let's change a little bit of our formatting. Come over here, click on Chandler Unified School District, click on Cell Styles, and we want to make this a title. Okay, this is a title slide. Nice. Okay. And let's bold it. Okay, just make it look a little nicer. Maybe we can change, well, I'm not too concerned about color and all that stuff right now. If you guys want to, you can change the color a little bit. That's not an issue. Let's come here to this one, the lifetime fundraising, and let's make sure let's call that 14-point font. All right, let's make that 14. So this one here is 18. This one here is going to be 14. Let's also bold it. And actually, let's make this one 20. So 20, 14. Okay. Looks good, looks good. We want these to be similar colors, though. So let's change the color a little bit. That looks like I'm not going to get it a perfect match. I don't care what your colors are, as long as they are consistent. All right. Now we've merged and centered. Now let's select this top row of our table. So that's the range A3, and it's a range when you select more than, one cell. It's range A3 to H3. And what we're going to do is we're going to go back to this cell style, and we are going to call this, let's go with heading, I want it to be kind of small, so let's go with heading 3. I do want the underline. See how heading 4 doesn't have one, heading 3 does have an underline. They're just all a little bit different in how they look. Let's actually go with heading 2. All right. And then let's center all of our text. Nice. All right. The next thing that we're going to do is let's grab this bottom total row. And then what we're going to do is we are going to style and do a total. We styled it as a total row. And what that does is it bolds it and it adds these 2 lines. Just makes it a little clearer and easier to see. Okay, now what we want to do is let's select some numbers here. This top line of numbers, I want to apply this accounting number format button. So you click this accounting number format button. If you do the drop down arrow, you can do it in all different currencies. We want American currency, so we'll do dollars. And we're just doing that to the top row. These other numbers still don't look quite right though. So what we're going to do is these 4 rows in the middle, we want our numbers to be comma style. It just makes it easier to tell the difference between thousands and hundreds. And then this bottom row, we also want to look like a dollar sign. Okay, very nice. Now if you notice, if I go back, when we apply that, it kind of automatically changes the width of the cells, which is great. Now, if it did not do that for you, you can change the width of a cell by double-clicking the cell above it. So let me give you an example. If I type out this big long word right here, the cell size did not change. L, the whole column didn't change. But if I double-click this line between L and M, the entire column now becomes elongated to fit all of the text within it. Okay. Very nice, very nice. Now, let's look here. This cell is way too big now. It's just too big. So let's select any cell in A, column A, and then double click this line. Now, do you see how that condensed it or compressed it so that it went to the largest amount of text? It compressed it to the largest amount of text, which in this column I think is phonathon. Okay. So we've centered this text, I believe, already. Yep, we have. Good, good, good. Okie dokie. So now this is a pretty decent looking table. I mean, it's not perfect, but now we know the total for each location that they were able to fundraise over, the entire history of the school. And then here, when you add up all of everything, you add up all 6 schools, the total is 1,573,109 and then 38 cents. Now we want to make a chart to go along with this, and the way that we're going to do that is we're going to select our data, right? So only the data, not the total rows, but just our table without the totals. And we are going to go to Insert. And there are all different types of charts here that we can insert. Pivot charts, maps, it will even recommend charts. If you click on recommend charts, it'll bring up a clustered column. It'll bring up all different types. We are not going, and you can cycle through them and you can see clustered column, stack, cluster bar, etc., etc., etc. These are different columned ones. So you can do 3D clustered column, 3D stacked column. They're just all different kinds of column charts. So there's clustered, stacked column, 3D, 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 3D. So all different types. Let's see. There are also histograms, there are line charts, there are pie charts, there are waterfall or stock charts, there are combo charts, there are radar or service charts. You can play around with them. There's all different kinds. Okay, what we're going to do though is we are going to do a column, and I just want to do just a 2D one, a 2D column. And let's see here, we want a clustered column. So a 2D clustered column is what we want. Now what's cool about this is it brings you back a column pretty much already made. It tells you, I'm not going to get too in depth on how to make it. As long as you formatted your table right, it'll pretty much do all the work for you. There's very little you'll have to do from this point forward. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to add some things. So as long as you have the table highlighted, there are chart elements, there are chart styles, and there is a filter. So the filter lets you select what you do and don't want to see. So like for example, if you only want to see Payne Junior High and you apply it, you only see Payne Junior High. If you want to see all of them, apply it and you'll see Payne Junior High. If you want all of that data but you don't want to show fun runs and direct mail, apply it and it gets rid of it. But you see how there are excuse me, sorry, I'm a little sick today. But you see how there are these colors here, but you don't know what each one of these bars, these columns represent. Well, I can see it over here what they represent, but there's nothing really too clear on my table unless you look down here. Well, we want to maybe make that a little more prominent, okay? Oh, before I get to that though, there's different chart elements you can add. Like you can add axis titles, chart titles. We're not going to add it. We're going to uncheck the chart title on this one because if you can see the table here, you don't need it. Data labels, we don't need that. That's above. Data table, well, we don't need that. That's also right above. Error bars, we don't need that. Grid lines, well, we want to keep our grid lines. If you don't have grid lines, it looks like that, but I like grid lines. No legend? No, we definitely want a legend. So you notice how I unclick legend, and I re-click legend, and I brought the legend over here to the right-hand side? That's what I was trying to do. I don't know. For this particular chart, I like having the legend on the right-hand side. um, just because it kind of stands out a little bit more. It's a little more prominent. The other thing I want to do is maybe I can make it a little bit bigger even. So I can drag it around. I can try to make it a little bit bigger. And then if I go to home and I still have this checked, I can increase the text size. Okay, so now I have a nice chart. I'll go to format, and you can play around with, the different word art, borders, all the things you'd normally play around with. You can align it, change the size. You can also change the style. We're not going to do any of that though. We're going to leave it just like I had it. Okay, dokie. Now this sheet right now is named sheet 1. I want to rename it, and I'm going to rename it Lifetime Fundraising. I want you to rename it that as well. And what's going to happen is as you progress, you can add more charts, or sorry, more sheets within a workbook. So this entire file is called a workbook, and these are all pages or sheets within the workbook, and you can do more work on these sheets and rename them. So I'm going to delete these. I added them, but we're not going to add anything to them today. We'll do stuff in the future on these other sheets. If you right click on this though, you can change tab color. So I'll make it red. All right. I mean, it really is pretty simple to add a chart. I mean, yeah. And then watch, if you go to print, you'd have a really, really nice table and chart. Now my chart's a little too big, so this is why it's a good idea to check this to see, how it would print, how it would look. The option would be to change your page layout though to a landscape orientation. And if you do that and you go to file and you go to print, now look how it looks. Really nice. Well, I don't know, maybe not really nice, but pretty nice. Okay. And that's really it for the first assignment. You just need to make the data table and make a chart to go with it. I mean, fairly straightforward, fairly simple. I give you all the numbers. You can change some of the other stuff. That's fine by me. And then you just need to make sure you save it to the right file name, which in this case, I would want you to save it as last name. Which in my case would be Hurst. And then fundraising. Hurst fundraising. And then I would save it to, I'll just save it to my desktop. Save, and you're done. That's it for the first Excel project.